Hello, I'm Alexander Campkin and I am a composer. I studied at Oxford University and the Royal Academy of Music, and I've had just over 100 professional commissions now, working with a complete variety of ensembles and scoring, some for chamber music, some for orchestra, and some for choir. I'm thrilled to be writing 4 or 5 commissions over the next year for the newly formed Changemakers Ensemble. I think it is an absolutely groundbreaking project, and I think it is very much overdue. I feel that orchestras have not been addressing correctly the balance of disabled musicians and non-disabled musicians within their orchestras, and I feel that this is making a giant leap towards redressing that balance. So that's why I'm so thrilled, I'm so excited to be the composer in residence for the newly formed Changemakers Ensemble at the heart of the Bournemouth Symphony Orchestra. I started playing the violin at the age of 6. It was my first instrument and I quickly moved on to viola. I'm so passionate about this instrument. It totally took over my life. I absolutely love playing it. Chamber music was the thing that I was most passionate about. The direction of my musical career changed quite dramatically when I was 17 years old. I was due to make a concerto premiere in Romania with the Arad Philharmonic, playing Elgar's Introduction and Allegro for string quartet and orchestra. And it was about 1.5 months before this that I started having symptoms in my hands. I couldn't move my fingers the way that I was used to moving them. It turned out that it was multiple sclerosis, and this has continued to affect my hands. And I was really quite heartbroken because I felt like I'd not only lost a musical instrument, I felt like I lost my passion. I felt like it had been taken away. I felt robbed of what I thought was a gift. I felt like it had been taken away. I was absolutely astounded that nobody said, these are the problems you're having and this is how we can get around them. This is how we can modify the instrument or modify how you're holding the viola or the technique with which you're playing, so that you can re-enter the profession, but just under new circumstances. I spent more time composing, and I discovered that composing is actually what was a greater love and a greater passion even than viola. I find it really outrageous that the classical music industry hasn't made steps to cross any barriers of entry that musicians with disabilities might have, which are preventing some of the best players in the world from gaining access to the classical music industry. And this is why I feel that the Changemakers Ensemble is such an important and such a groundbreaking program, because the ensemble aims to put aside the disabilities and just care about the quality of the music. So that is why we've had an audition process to look for some of the best performers within the UK and within Europe, regardless whether or not they have a disability. If that means that people have an impairment, their vision, and perhaps they cannot sight read, this might be a barrier to performing in a traditional symphony orchestra within the UK. But it shouldn't be, because why can't the player learn the music in Braille or by a recording, and then play it to a wonderful standard? These are barriers that should not prevent people from taking part in classical music, but very sadly they are, because even though 1 in 5 people in the UK, 20% of people have a disability, that is totally unrepresented within classical music. It's a well-known fact that Beethoven was deaf, but what most people don't realise is that history was filled with composers that were living with disability. J.S. Bach and Handel also suffered deafness. Mussorgsky suffered from severe alcoholism. Mendelssohn had a severe brain aneurysm which affected the way he was able to move his hands and to speak. Gershwin had a brain tumour. Schumann, Tchaikovsky, Rachmaninoff, Berlioz, Bruckner, Lassus, Gesualdo, Warlock and Beethoven all suffered severe bouts of depression. Schoenberg suffered from triskaidekaphobia, which is known as a fear of the number 13. Now this was no flippant concern of the number 13, this was more of an all-consuming, paralysing fear. On a day-to-day level this had various implications. For instance, he would never enter a house that was numbered 13. However, on the musical side, this also had large impacts. In Schoenberg's song cycle, The Book of Hanging Gardens, he would never write bar number or measure number 13. He would always write 12A because of this phobia of the number 13. These examples highlight that disability is often unseen. It's often not what we think it might be, but 20% of the UK population have a disability, and very often it is hidden. Both hidden disabilities and visible disabilities can prevent some of the best musicians in the world from taking part in professional music making. That is why at the Changemakers Ensemble we are giving the opportunity to some of the best musicians in the world, regardless of whether or not they have a disability. I'm strongly passionate about representing the diversity we see within society on the classical music stage. And this is why I'm so excited to be leading the way as the composer in residence of the new Bournemouth Symphony Orchestra's Changemakers Ensemble. I'm not really sure what I'm going to learn from this experience. I'm not even sure what I want to learn from it, but I think whatever it will be, that it's going to be a very exciting journey. A journey of discovery and a journey of experimentation. And one of the main things that I want to do is to write for the ensemble, to write for the specific players in a way such that they will be able to play the music regardless of any disability. So that might mean, for instance, providing recordings to the musicians if they have visual impairments, so that they can learn the music before they get to the first rehearsal. I'm also really excited about exploring with the ensemble what sounds I can make from new compositions with that specific collection of instruments that we have. I'm not really sure how the creative process is going to come about, whether or not I would bring sketches to the rehearsals and then make changes throughout the rehearsal period, or whether or not I would perhaps bring finished works, or whether I would try devising a new work alongside the players. I'm not exactly sure what it will involve, but I do know for certain that it will be a very exciting journey upon which I'm going with the Bournemouth Symphony Orchestra's Changemakers Ensemble.